Good Morning America host Amy Robach was on a recent podcast talking about different topics from her life. She then started talking about things that happened to her when she was younger, and it turned out that she had a criminal record, which surprised some of her fans. Here is what Amy said happened to her when she was younger that landed her in jail. Amy Robach describes the time she went to jail. Amy Robach hosts the Amy and TJ podcast with TJ Holmes. The two used to co-host ABC's GMA3 together, and they are still working on the podcast. In a recent episode, Amy recalled a moment from her younger days when she ended up spending some time in jail. Amy said that she was 20 years old at the time. She was at a party with some of her friends, and they stayed at the party while she drove home alone. She said she had been drinking that night, but it had been several hours since her last drink, so she felt it was okay to drive. The problem was that she was driving a stick shift at her father's insistence. She said it was only the second day she drove the car, and she still wasn't comfortable with the stick shift. Thanks to the jerkiness of changing gears, it made a police officer believe she was drunk. She said it was less than a mile, and the police officer pulled her over in the parking lot of her apartment complex. He asked her to take a sobriety test. She said that she passed the sobriety test and told the officer that she lived in the complex they were at. However, she said she didn't have her ID on her. The officer said if she could prove she lived there, he would let her go. She opened her wallet, and he saw an ID in there. However, she said she didn't have her ID because she was carrying a fake ID at the time to allow her to buy alcohol and get into bars. Amy Robach on her experience in jail. The police officer knew Amy Robach. Lying about not having an ID meant that the one in her wallet was likely a fake. He took the ID with him, and then the police showed up and arrested her 2 weeks later. Amy said she was on her way back to her parents' house in Georgia when a sheriff's deputy was waiting in the apartment driveway to arrest her. She said she figured they didn't have enough arrests that month to fill their quota, so this was an easy one for tampering with a government ID and minor in possession. This led to her going to jail in Gwinnett County and then to Athens-Clarke County. She said it was to prove they have a quota issue. She said she was handcuffed, shackled, put into a police car, and taken to a holding cell. Her mother bailed her out 9 hours later. She pled no contest and then received credit for time served. There was no conviction, but she does have an arrest record. What are your thoughts about Amy Robach's story about her time in jail and her arrest? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.